Let's dive into the story of a man stolen from the slums, turned into a living weapon until his mind broke. When he was no longer useful, they tossed him like garbage, but he survived, reborn as a human with monstrous strength. Instead of seeking revenge, he chooses peace in the demon realm, making friends and growing mandrakes in his garden. Peace has to be built, not just found, and he intends to enjoy every single second of it. It all starts with a little snake named Sasa, facing off against three aggressive radishes deep inside a demon gate. Yubam and Yujia watch the fight unfold, with Bum confident that the winner is already decided. Jia notes today's battle is intense, especially when the radishes suddenly unleash what Bum calls a Superman punch. Sasa dodges the main blow, but a stray radish leaf still manages to smack the target. The poor snake runs off crying, and Bum cheers for Mandre, who just hit a 99-match winning streak. Jia admits Sasa fought well, while our protagonist, Chandun, picks up Mandre and praises his hard work today. He gently takes some moisturizer and rubs it onto the radish's skin. Now, stick with me here, because while he is pampering plants, Kim Nari is demanding to know when lunch is ready. Namio tells her he is almost done and promises she is going to love what he is cooking. The girl hands him a basket of eggs, insisting they would be the perfect addition to the meal. Uncle agrees, cracking them into the pans before serving up the finished plates to everyone. Nari is absolutely ready to dig in, but Tishak stops her for the final touch, a perfect sprinkle of sesame seeds. With the work finally done, the two of them call the rest of the group to the table. The chef proudly announces the special menu, his signature fried rice with kimchi and a secret sauce. Nari takes a bite and gasps, absolutely blown away by how delicious it tastes. Tishak smiles and tells her there is plenty more, so she should definitely go for seconds. Jia praises his cooking, making him blush as he admits he is honored she likes his food. Our main character starts eating too, while his little mandrake has already drifted off to sleep. Everyone digs in happily, rushing around to make sure Jia has a full plate of delicious food for herself. Watching this, our hero realizes life in this realm is actually great, but remember, this world was born from destruction. Cruel monsters once poured out from gates, leading the world to call this place the demon realm. Then, the hunters awakened, gaining special abilities and mana to fight back against the tide. Because of their strength, humanity managed to rebuild their broken cities. Problems still exist, but at least some people have found a way to live normally again. But let's pause, because there were never enough hunters, so humanity created something artificial, the Chimera hunter. They built these things using death row inmates, animal parts, gate minerals, and monster cells. Mass-producing these chimeras was the only way humanity felt they could truly survive. It was called the ultimate triumph of science and hunter technology working together. Deaths dropped, lives were saved, and it looked like the world was finally recovering. Decades ago, in a secret storage facility called B-18, two scientists entered the room holding the locked-up chimeras. One of them shines a light, wondering if number 17's arm has started to rot. The other is terrified, but his partner claims the creature's brain is too damaged to move without orders. Looking at the sickly monster, the scientist notices its right arm is completely mangled. He wonders if it is a side effect, and why anyone would fear a creature that can barely see. His partner just wants to leave, noting that they are going to scrap the thing anyway. They report to the director that number 17 is useless now, his body far too damaged to function. Most chimeras would be dead by now, so the director asks how much time he has left. The scientist gives him 1 month, so the director decides to use him for a gate blockade. He is ordered to guard the rear during the retreat, and specifically told not to bring him back. Now watch this. Deep in the Demon Realm's mountains, that same broken chimera is locked in a deadly fight. He shreds a flying demon instantly, and trust me, you and I are about to see this monster become a man. Alright, you and I are diving into this wild story. The chimera leaps high, shredding demons before a magic ball obliterates every enemy in sight. Nearby, the adventurers watching the battle can't help but marvel at how amazing the whole thing is. He wiped out a whole horde in one swing. It's exactly what they expected from an S-class chimera hunter. One guy notes the gate isn't closing, but another tells him not to sweat it. They're totally safe for now. No matter how many monsters swarm out, as long as they have this chimera, they'll hold the line forever. The group just cleans up the stragglers as the red gate finally begins to flicker and vanish. The lead adventurer shouts that it's time to retreat and exit the gate, but Chimera number 17 just keeps fighting. An adventurer asks if they should bring him back, but the leader tells her to just forget it. Orders were not to return him. Besides, his unnatural lifespan is basically at its breaking point anyway. She feels uneasy, knowing that without his sacrifice, the damage to their world would have been truly massive. The man scoffs at her worry. She knows chimeras aren't even alive, they're practically just mindless, inanimate tools. They are simply monsters that follow their master's orders until there is nothing left of them. In the heat of battle, 17 flashes back to the scientist's cold commands. His only job is to protect the hunter's rear. Did he understand that? Nothing else was needed. Once the mission is done, he's a disposable tool that never needs to return. With the monsters gone but his body broken by severe injuries, 17 finally thinks his duty is over. Now, pay attention, because this is where the life of a weapon ends and a legend begins. No return permitted. Hunter deaths, 0. Total monsters destroyed, 1,823. In the moment of death, an unrecorded past surfaces inside number 17's mind. He was once just an ordinary human boy, abducted from his home at the age of 9. Starting with that single memory, a panorama of his entire tragic life flashes before his eyes. His damaged brain can't process what these images mean. He just calmly watches his past flicker by like a movie. 79 years ago, in a District 13 orphanage, his father held him in his arms for the first time. 70 years ago, he was scolded for hitting a childhood friend with a small rock. Eventually, the protagonist's own parents kicked him out, saying they could no longer allow him to live there. Then, laboratory scientists found him, took him in, and began to inject various genes into his body. They labeled him number 17 and injected him with S+ silkworm cells. Miraculously, his body showed 0 side effects. Sometime later, a scientist reports a special ability emerged, but his human form and personality are intact. It's like he's got a constitution unlike anything they've seen. The director orders them to keep implanting variants into him until they see a reaction. They want a monster. 64 years ago, he became terrifyingly powerful. They finally started using him as a living weapon against demons. 59 years ago, surrounded by corpses, he started to wonder why he was even there. What was the point? The director asks why he stopped fighting. Is his memory finally failing him? Is the human part dying? Finally, the side effects show up. 54 years ago, a scientist recorded that after 15 years of being stuffed with over 500 monster cells, his rank hit S level. His power is now immeasurable. 17 is their greatest success. 20 years ago, he lost his human form completely and was fed raw meat like an animal. Trust me, I know what you're thinking. Is this the end? 3 days ago, his final battle ended his mission. With a total of 527 types of monster cells inside him, Chimera Hunter 17 is reborn. After that final fight, his bones and muscles begin to fuse back together until he regains a human shape. He looks at his hands, where sharp claws still stick out. Since the monster cells are still active, he knows he can't call himself completely human. He thinks about it, and man, it's been such a long, painful time. If the lab didn't reclaim him, they must have thrown him away. The number on his wrist is gone. Is he finally finished with the lab forever? If his body has changed like this, it must be due to an immortal type ability that revives the host 3 times as long as the core is safe. But they said human and immortal cells couldn't fuse. His body has clearly returned to its peak condition. Maybe the side effects of those decades of experiments have finally worn off. As he starts to experience this change, his once clouded mind finally begins to clear up. The brainwashing orders are gone. If his life as a chimera is over, can he actually live as a human being again? 17 was just a number from the lab. And trust me, you and I are about to find out his real name. You and I are watching a main character whose father called him a psychopath when he was just a child. Correction, he just had a rough personality. His dad wanted him to live a life helping others, to let Chandun do good. The main character just laughs. How could a slum orphan help anyone? To him, those words are completely and utterly hollow. So, what is next? Maybe revenge. But real vengeance needs a clear, direct target to stay on track. Honestly, everything feels like a lifetime ago. That old burning desire for payback, it just does not hit the same way anymore. Regardless, he is not heading back to the human world yet. If he survives long enough, they will cross paths eventually. He will deal with that when it happens. For now, he decides it is time to start living like a human again. How long has it been since he wore actual clothes? He finds a pond and wonders what material he could use. Does the material need to be durable? He needs to scout the area. Suddenly, he spots a demon corpse. Was this a turf war? The beast looks powerful, yet there are no obvious injuries visible on its body. Most likely poison killed it. Great. He needs that skin. He shifts his hand into a blade. Will this make the job easier? He tries to recall his old lab training. First, a straight cut down the stomach, then the limbs. Let's try. As he butchers it, a toxic aura starts leaking out. The main character takes 0 damage, but the smell is disgusting. He is definitely going to have to wash this thing. After some effort, the skin comes off completely. He notes that for his first attempt, it is actually not bad. He starts rinsing the material, but suddenly it hardens. Strange, because it still looks like it should be soft. Is it because it came from a monster? It is incredibly tough, but does not feel like metal or anything rigid. There is only one way to process hide like this. He lays it on the grass and starts punching it repeatedly. After a while, the hide finally becomes quite soft. Now watch closely while he is busy sizing up the fabric. The monster behind him actually starts to wake up. Without even noticing, he pierces the hide in the right spots and finishes stitching together his new set of clothes. He checks his work and realizes the poison did not wash off. He is tired of messing with it, so whatever. That is when the monster fully wakes up. Realizing its skin is missing, the poor thing starts squealing in agony. Our main character looks back, surprised it is still alive. He was certain that he had seen rigor mortis. He wonders if his mind is playing tricks. If it is alive despite that, this creature must be immortal, just like him. Back then, he would have finished it without hesitation because he was a hunter. But it is weak, and no threat now. No point in killing it. He smiles and tells it they are both lucky. Since they both got a second shot at life, they should make it count. If fate allows, maybe they will meet again. With that, he heads into a cave. Now that he has clothes, his next priority is finding a place to live. Suddenly, a massive centipede lunges from the shadows and goes straight for the kill. He keeps a completely cool head, and notes that it is way too dark here. With a singlet so hand, he decapitates it. Sometime later, the main character arrives in a winter zone. Looking at the frozen corpses, he realizes finding food here will be a nightmare. It is not suitable. He scouts a few more spots, until he finds a rocky area featuring a gorgeous waterfall and a clear pool. You and I probably did not expect the demon realm to look this beautiful, right? Time to explore this paradise. The water is crystal clear and full of fish. Piranhas start jumping out, and man, they look incredibly vicious and hungry. Actually, they look delicious. If he catches and grills one, it will feel just like he is out camping. With a natural fish farm right here, why not build a house nearby? The air is fresh and flowers are everywhere. This is Dun's house now and it fits him perfectly. Meanwhile, in another part of the realm, a gate opens and a robot jumps out. Now, the main character decides it is time to start construction. First up, he needs a plot of land. With one wave, he levels the trees and decides this area is enough for a house. Now he just needs to gather some high-quality timber. After collecting enough wood, he notices the ground is a bit uneven. He is going to have to fix that. With another simple wave of his hand, he instantly clears away every single stump and all the messy grass. And that is where we leave it, trust me. You are going to want to see what he builds next. Alright, you and I are watching a Chimera build his home. Posts in every corner? Maybe that's free will. Either way, it's fun. Maybe it's because this is his first time building a house. After setting the posts and floor, he realizes he actually needs walls. Since he doesn't have any nails, he's getting creative and replacing them with monster snail slime. When it hardens, it's stone strong and waterproof. Now, for the final touches, he just needs to finish the roof. He wraps the ceiling in silkworm silk and, looking at the disgusting house, claims it's actually very cozy. He likes it, but something feels off. He starts wondering what an ordinary human house is supposed to look like. He recalls his old lab lessons and wonders if those educational videos showed people growing things in a garden. It's not like he can raise a regular dog out here in the demon realm. Maybe a vegetable garden is the way to go. But what could even grow in this demon world with mountains nearby? Perhaps he should try planting a mandre. After a long trek, our main character reaches the snowy mountains. Stick with me, because he's heading for the highest mana-rich peaks. There's a massive amount of snow here, which makes sense. It reminds him of the day the lab first kidnapped him. It was so freezing back then that he was actually happy to be taken away. Being a Chimera has some perks. At least he doesn't have to worry about freezing or starving to death anymore. Judging by the mana density, he's almost there. Thankfully, the snowstorm is finally starting to die down. He finally finds the sprouts he needs and notes that his long search wasn't for nothing. Mandrakes are stress-sensitive monsters like sunfish. They can literally die from the smallest change in their environment. If he's going to move them, he thinks younger, more adaptable ones would be a better choice. As he pulls one out, he wonders if they'll scream, so he gets ready to cover his ears. But they don't scream at all. They're just dormant, making weird sounds in their sleep that leave him totally perplexed. It turns out the famous mandrake scream only happens when people try to cultivate them artificially. Under extreme stress in worlds without mana, being forcibly pulled from the ground makes them scream and die. He figures they're quiet because they're in the demon realm, but he's surprised they aren't putting up a fight. Usually, they'd be trying to escape. He wonders if they've somehow identified him as one of their own kind. Since Mandre cells were implanted into his Chimera body, it makes sense that they don't feel any stress. He collects a few, wondering if he can ask for root cuttings to make tea once they're older. He heard that if the fruit is harvested by force, it becomes toxic. He'll have to try harder to persuade them. But just as things get peaceful, you and I notice some hunters have wandered into his territory. He doesn't know why they're in such a dangerous place, but he needs to grab the gatestone and go. Meanwhile, a group of hunters is frantically using themselves as bait for the local monsters. Kim Ta-hoon, a D-rank hunter, panics that they've been used as bait. Oju tells him to get it together because they're coming back. Just as the monsters attack, the hunter creates a barrier, but it starts crumbling under the powerful strikes. Horrified, the young man wishes he had just stayed at his part-time job instead of coming here. He regrets volunteering to find the Chimera as his barrier instantly collapses into nothing. Suddenly, our hero appears, landing with a massive cloud of smoke. Seeing him, Tahun asks if this is even human. He looks at the snow rabbit and notes that they haven't seen each other in quite a while. The monsters bolt in fear, completely terrified by the overwhelming aura radiating from him. Confused, Sungu asks why B-rank monsters are running away from one guy. Tahun gets up, thanks him for saving them, and asks for his name. Our main character looks around calmly and replies that his name is Dawoon. The hunter has never heard that name. Seeing his clothes, he wonders if this guy is some reclusive hunter. Dawoon asks why they're here. They look like D-rank hunters who don't understand how dangerous these mountains are. Tahun admits they're here for the money. They were told to capture a runaway chimera. The reward is huge. According to the scientists, one of the test subjects escaped from their lab. It's supposedly a mechanized creature that jumped through the gate during the escape. If they want a machine, he's safe for now, but trust me, you and I know his secrets won't stay hidden forever. Alright, you and I are watching a cold-blooded betrayal. Where did all their gear go? No gatestone either. Sunju tells him the others grabbed everything and fled. This wasn't an accident, they planned to leave them for dead from the very beginning. He should have seen it coming the second that B-class hunter offered to join. Does the protagonist have a gatestone? Tahun wonders if he even plans on returning, since they have already pushed past their absolute limits. He knows exactly what happens once that mana poisoning starts rotting you from the inside. He starts calculating just how long a hunter can survive out here, based on their individual awakening level. Without a cleanse in the human world, it is game over. Tahun screams in desperation, asking if there is any way he can take them back with him. He has a pregnant wife waiting at home, so he is practically begging. Just then, our main character senses a strange presence nearby and wonders if it found them. Suddenly, he is a blur, leaping high into the air. The abandoned hunters start screaming his name, terrified that he is just leaving them behind. They beg him for a way out. Meanwhile, the traitorous hunters spot the escaped chimera standing right on the edge of a jagged cliff. One of them yells that this is their shot to kill it quickly. They need to strike now. The mechanical beast turns with a cold glare, declaring that this entire area feels dangerous. Stick with me, because things are about to get bloody. Our main character arrives just a minute late. Looking at the blood and the mess of footprints, he realizes the hunters have already scattered like rats. They even left their gear behind. Interestingly, he spots traces from a child and some kind of animal. It was fighting while constantly shifting its form. He remembers Tahun's story about the robot, a liquid metal chimera that can shapeshift. Since the materials were so rare, it was kept small, like a child or a dog. He smiles, realizing this tiny mechanical creature wiped out 5 B-rank hunters all on its own. You have to admit, that is a seriously impressive feat. Sometime later, the 2 hunters left behind in the snowy wasteland are already at death's door. Sunju slumps against a tree, whispering that he thinks this is the end. His body is rotting from demonic energy. Tahun snaps at him, telling him to stop talking like that. Doesn't he want to see his baby born next month? Sunju just coughs up blood, telling him to let his wife know how sorry he is. The hysterical boy screams for him to hold on, hoping for some kind of miracle. And just when all hope is lost, our main character returns while carrying a stolen backpack. Tahun rushes over and drops to his knees, begging for help. Our guy is just confused, wondering what the big deal is. Oh, right, they don't have a gatestone. Tahun shouts that losing one in this lawless demon realm is basically a guaranteed death sentence. He offers up 2 10 million won checks, literally every cent they have, just to pay for their lives. He begs him to sell them a single gatestone, or they are both going to die. Our lead realizes he has nowhere to spend this cash yet, but it will be useful once he is back in the human world. He hands over the stones, and a glowing portal finally ripples into existence. Tahun bows his head in gratitude, swearing he won't forget this. He tells Sunju to get up quickly. If they move now, they might actually live. MC looks at the money, asking if gatestones usually cost 200,000 won back home. The guy helping his friend says they are worth 1 million won now. So why is he even asking? The protagonist places a hand on his shoulder and admits he took too much. He is going to give them their change right now. Without warning, he starts pumping a massive, overwhelming stream of pure mana directly into their dying bodies. Tahun is horrified. Even A-rankers are afraid to do this. If mana types clash and get tangled, your core shatters and everyone involved just dies instantly. If this keeps up, they are dead. But suddenly, he feels a surge of relief. In total shock, he realizes the demonic energy has been completely washed away. Sunju hugs his friend, shouting that they are alive. MC just calmly says it's time to go. The hunter falls to his knees, bowing in pure gratitude. Tahun is stunned. He actually cleansed the demonic energy just by releasing his own raw mana. That is impossible without a massive mountain of mana. Just what kind of monster are we dealing with here? A bit later, the protagonist returns to his perfect home, glad to see everything is safe. He even walked away with some extra cash. You and I can agree, that was one successful trip. Suddenly, the mandrakes start making noise and looking a bit wilted. He wonders if they are just tired from the long journey. He sticks the sprouts back into the dirt, hoping that will be enough to save them. Alright, you and I are diving into a world where even the plants have major attitude problems. Maybe they hated being relocated. Or were they just hungry after traveling without any fresh soil? He figures a little manna might help. Mandrakes usually love that stuff. He digs a finger into the dirt, pumping energy directly into their roots until they finally start looking happy. Now pay attention, our main character suddenly senses a presence that definitely isn't just a plant. If it wants something, it'll show itself. Sure enough, there's a robot hiding in the bushes nearby. Moving on, our hero heads inside his house and stashes his cash in the wall. He'll save that money for later. Right now, it's time to unpack and settle into the new place. He pulls out his gear, checking over the portable stove and a fresh set of cooking pots. These are essential for cooking outdoors while camping or fishing. Next, he pulls out 8 magical gate stones. These allow travel between the human and demon realms. Plus, some extra clothes completely covered in pollen. Those need a good wash. Finally, he unpacks 2 sleeping bags and a blanket for a warm night's rest. He's impressed by how well prepared they were. Then, at the bottom of the pack, he discovers a surprise ramen. It's a blast from the past. He hasn't tasted this since his early days at the orphanage. He's starving, so he decides to whip it up as a quick and easy snack. Following the recipe, he needs 500 milliliters of water. But as he approaches the pond, aggressive piranhas start launching themselves at him. He handles them instantly and figures he might as well add some extra ingredients to the pot. Fish would definitely make this better. A little extra flavor never hurt anyone, right? Usually, people go for things like eggs or green onions. He finds some bird capsules in a tree and wonders if these embryos could pass for caviar-style eggs. After grabbing those, he starts picking leaves, hoping they'll work as a substitute since there are no onions around. Ingredients gathered. Now, it's time to head back and get the cooking started. Meanwhile, that hungry robot is watching closely, wondering what he's cooking. Our hero sets the pot on the stove, since the instructions didn't mention the fish. He'll just boil everything together with the noodles. Okay, let's be real, we've all seen bad cooking, but this smell is on a whole other level. The robot smells it too, and starts getting desperate. He remembers something from the laboratory people like dogs. He shifts into a canine form, favoring one leg, knowing humans usually cave when they feel sorry for something. Our hero notices the mechanical creature immediately. It's been stalking him for quite a while now. Is it pretending to be an injured dog just to lower his guard? It's a pretty obvious sympathy play. It's clear this thing is young and totally clueless. How did it even escape a lab to reach the demon realm? He offers some food, and the little robot responds with a happy, metallic bark. He dishes out the questionable ramen, and they dig in. One bite, and he's instantly transported back to his childhood. Dune is so lost in those 7-year-old memories that the terrible smell doesn't even bother him. Eventually, they finish the meal. He tells the robot it can go now while he cleans up. The robot starts to leave, but this time it's limping on its right leg instead. Our hero just smiles and calls it out. Wasn't it the left leg a minute ago? The robot panics and instantly switches the limp back to the other side to keep up the act. Once the dishes are done, he heads to the pond. Time to tackle that pile of laundry. He's not sure about the pollen, but he can't stay in these clothes forever. He's not a caveman. He knows if he hits too hard, these clothes will shred instantly. Time to be careful. He tries to beat the pollen out of his shirt, but his strength is just too much. It's ruined, but he's got spares. He looks over at the robot nearby. Is it just frozen in place like a statue now? Why is this machine still following him? It watched him eat, clean, and even admire the flowers while shifting forms, but never actually attacked. Suddenly, a single bee attacks the robot. And that's where we leave it. Our hero realizes he's basically babysitting a high-tech toddler. Stay tuned. Stick with me, we're about to see how this strange new life unfolds. These young chimeras all suffer the same side effects. After a while, he finally finishes washing his clothes, realizing that laundry is way harder than it actually looks. Luckily, he managed to keep this item intact. The t-shirt is definitely a bit tight, but it'll have to do. As he leaves to check the mandrakes, the robot suddenly shifts back to its true form. It walks over to the hanger and puts on the wet shirt, noting that since the gentleman wears clothes, it should definitely wear some as well. Now, these clothes belong to him. Just like that, the robot transforms into a little girl. Meanwhile, the main character sees the mandrakes aren't doing well and wonders what's happening. The leaves keep withering and the roots are drying out. It's strange, since he pulled every weed in the field. He probes the ground with a pickaxe and finds monster worms hiding in the soil. He never knew such creatures lived here. He needs to cultivate carefully so they don't die from his mistakes. He plans to plant a decent vegetable garden, roughly the size of his house. Is that really going to be enough? Now pay attention, because right then, a girl approaches and says hello. Is she finally talking to him? Is she finally talking? He greets her, surprised. She points to the building and asks if it's his house. He proudly says yes. Nari asks if he's a local. He decides to tease her. The protagonist agrees and asks what tribe she belongs to. She starts spinning a story, saying she traveled through the waterfall from a place that's located very far away. It's so far he'd never find it. He asks if being near the waterfall makes her part of the coconut tribe. Nari starts nodding her head in agreement. He notices her clothes look exactly like his. She explains that her tribe believes finders keepers. So, these clothes are officially hers now. He says she can keep them. But why did someone from her tribe come here? Nari explains she was kicked out of her tribe. She has one request: she wants to live here with him. There are no bugs and a safe house, so she wants to stay. She feels secure in this spot. The main character wonders if she just needs a place to rest. He agrees, but on one condition: she has to work. Nari happily agrees. Just tell her what to do. He points out the garden needs work first. Can she help? He needs to find a new home for the mandrakes. She happily grabs the tool, telling him to leave it to her. She's totally confident, plowing the soil at an absolutely incredible speed. You saw how fast she moved, right? She's not even trying to hide her power. Maybe she spent her whole life in a lab and doesn't know what normal kids can do. He introduces himself as Dune. Since she doesn't have a name, she decides to name herself after a beautiful flower. After thinking it over, she proudly announces her name is Kim Nari. Is her name Saya? He asks, confused. Meanwhile, the girl finishes plowing the garden and prepares the area. Looking at the happy mandrakes, he notes they look great. He really should have plowed the field much earlier. Nari watches them and suddenly starts to cry. Confused, the main character asks why she's so upset. She says these mandrakes remind her of her friends, though he doubts such things exist in a lab. Suddenly, a dark monster aura appears, and strange sounds begin to echo around them. Nari falls to the ground in terror. He tells her not to worry, it's just monsters hunting each other. She mentions seeing a monster that looked like a chicken before she arrived. She thought it was being attacked. He confirms it, and she notices the creature seemed to be in pain. He tells her it'll be eaten soon. After all, they are in the demon realm. Does she want to save it? Nari holds her head, saying she isn't allowed to save monsters. He wonders if she's still suffering from that lab brainwashing. She can't act on her own. The main character suggests that if she goes to help, the creature might just survive. Nari flies toward the battle at lightning speed, telling him that she'll be back in no time. Soon, she reaches the spot where massive insect monsters have the little chick surrounded. She destroys them all, screaming for them to stop. Trust me, you and I won't want to miss what's next. Stick with me, you and I are diving into the robot's tragic past. Hunters used to beat and mock her, claiming everyone would be better off if she simply did not exist. All she could do was ask herself, why was her life like this? After all, she was only doing exactly what she was told to do. Nari snapped, furiously smashing through monsters while shouting that it was wrong for a crowd to attack one target. Later, she returned with a chick, her mechanical voice full of horror. She panicked because the little guy would not wake up, but our hero told her to just breathe. Staring at the bird, he remembered the massive beast he had skinned earlier. Was this the same creature? Our lead took the chick to inspect the damage, relieved there were no fatal wounds on the little guy. Every monster's mana tells a story. He is smaller and brighter now, but it is definitely the same energy. It is that same immortal type. But why is he so tiny? Maybe his healing works differently than expected. Nari asked if he was dying, but the main character realized he was just starving and needed some food. He pumped in some mana, so the chick would heal naturally if they just left him alone. Remembering her own abandonment, she insisted he would die alone. Since his legs looked like rice cakes, she asked to keep him. She really wanted to care for him, training him and feeding him herself. The main character laughed, noting he would get huge soon. Nari promised to feed him slowly, and he agreed to let her. Maybe he will even guard the yard. Suddenly, the chick woke up, glaring at the man who skinned him. Nari cheered that he was finally awake. Let's pay attention here. The chick was lost. A human girl in the demon realm? What is happening? Our hero wondered the same. Wait, does he actually understand me? A bit later, Nari had the bird wrapped in bandages, shouting the recovery was finally finished and complete. She needed a name. Since he chirped like a penguin, she decided to call the little guy Goo. The main character liked it, but the chick was furious that some random girl was naming him without permission. He already had a name, but Nari just ignored him and dumped water on him, confused by his chirps. Maybe he was thirsty. After the water, he puffed up like a round puffer fish. Lying on the table, the soaking wet chick begged her to stop drowning him with all that water. Realizing Nari could not hear the bird, the main character told her to take a break from the water. She figured he was hungry instead, and ran off while our hero went back to building the area. He started sawing logs for some shelves, but the wood just snapped instantly. He wondered what went wrong. He was using the exact same technique that worked for the tables and chairs earlier. Goo noticed the wood color was off. That coniferous timber was not right. He asked if strength depended on species. The chick chirped in agreement, shocked he did not know. So, our hero asked which color meant the strongest wood. Obviously red, Gu replied. You and I are probably thinking, can he actually understand him? To be safe, the bird tried to peek into his head, using mind reading. But our hero blocked it instantly. With a scary aura, he noted he had searched everywhere but still could not find a single redwood tree. Maybe it grew elsewhere. Gu was stunned. He just blocked a full mind-reading attempt. This was impossible. Could he actually hear him? The hero explained he could hear his thoughts translated into clear human speech. But honestly, isn't it weirder that a monster can understand exactly what humans are saying? The main character figured he was just one of those legendary, high-intelligence monsters. He had heard of them, but never met one. We have met before, right? Gu agreed, wanting a rematch. He asked why. And the bird replied that, either way, he had saved his life. He made a vow that if they ever met again, he would find a way to repay him. By removing the poisoned skin while keeping the core intact, he saved the beast. That is great, he said. Will you help me then? Gu tore off his bandages and signaled for the main character to follow him. He was going to lead him straight to where the red trees grew. Nari fled in terror, screaming that she would never, ever go back to that laboratory again. A massive explosion knocked her down. She panicked, realizing the lab had finally sent people to find and bring her back. Trust me, you and I do not want to miss how she handles this fire. Alright, we're watching this thing shift its shape completely. He didn't want to hurt something childlike, but he had to make her understand. This was a matter of life or death. The enemy prepares a massive strike, screaming that this is the end for her. Suddenly, our main character appears and blocks it effortlessly. He just wants to finish his shelf and eat. Hugh says they'll find trees later, but first, he'll save Nari. The hero notes her fear of fire. She's looking rough. He decides they need to kill the flames first. The chick asks what monster hurts kids. Jizok calls the hero a caveman. Where is he from? He came for the machine creature too, but he's short on time. He tells them to leave now. The main character says he talks too much. Furious, the hunter launches fire, calling him a stubborn idiot. He tells him not to break the shelf and just get out. Now watch closely. With just one finger, he crushes the guy under a mountain of rock. After putting out the fire, he checks on Nari. She tells him that she's feeling okay. He saved her. He tells her that when she's scared, she needs to suppress it, then turn it off if it wakes up. He grabs the hunter's hair, only to realize it's a wig. This guy is totally bald. Confused, the main character asks if he was bald the whole time. Seeing his shiny head, Nari bursts out laughing. Her fear is completely gone now. He says this guy was never her equal. Q thinks that explains everything. Mental resonance lets them see into memories and show them to others. Looking at Nari's past, we see a scientist mocking her for hiding. It seems she finally developed a real sense of her own self. She had nothing to fear. It was just another test. In the present, he praises her. He knows trauma doesn't just vanish, but maybe this is the first step toward overcoming her past. He wonders what to do with the bald guy. Nari has a great idea. Soon, they hang Jizok over a waterfall. Nari cheers that the water will stop his flames. The bald man isn't scary anymore. The boy wonders if this is why he came to this world. She calls him bad. The main character says she shouldn't judge people by their looks. It seems she'll recover much faster than he originally thought. He heads to the pond with a pot. Hugh asks what's up. Water for ramen. Nari loves his fish ramen. He asks if the coconut tribe actually eats that. She agrees. The coconut tribe absolutely loves their ramen. Watching them, Jizok wonders if this guy is a Class A hunter hiding his true power. Maybe a solo hunter? But hanging a guy then eating ramen? That's too much, even for the demon world. Nari grabs a piranha with her bare hands, shouting that she finally caught one. He only needs one. He tells her to let the others go. You and I both know that ramen broth looks absolutely terrifying right now. Jizok is horrified. He can't watch. He screams for them to let him go so he can cook. They release him. For some, it's just noodles. For Jizok, it's a matter of survival. Ramen must be made with love and follow the basics. No special recipes here. He estimates the water by eye. Next, add the noodles and broth to the pot. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. His heart beats 60 times a minute. He needs exactly 270 beats. At 200, Jizok pulls them and yells, "This is an air shower." He has a trick. Infusing the noodles with air creates the best texture. He wishes he had kimchi, but in the demon world, he has no regrets. Finally, the guy serves some killer ramen and tells them to dig in. They start eating and are shocked by the flavor. Q asks if humans eat this delicious food often. Trust me, you and I just witnessed a ramen masterpiece. Alright, you and I are diving into a ramen bowl that might change a life. Dawoon asked if they liked it. It was way too delicious for free, so the hunter insisted on paying. He begged Dawoon for a wish. Jizak fell to his knees, bowing his head while pleading for training. He wants to be strong like Dawoon. The main character was confused, asking what he could possibly teach. Jizak replied that Dawoon was the strongest hunter he'd seen. Looking at this house, he's clearly been here a long time. Jizak promised he could cook other dishes too. His father owns a fried chicken shop. He can make some seriously world-class chicken. Getting supplies through the gate is exhausting, right? And his clothes are a mess. Jizak offered to be his courier. He's willing to do anything for lessons. He wants to be an A-class hunter. Our hero only had one question. Why did he attack Nari? Was it for money? Jizak asked if he meant the robot from the coconut tribe. He decided to just play along. The hunter tearfully admitted that his reasons were personal. It's hard to explain, but he only needs to pass the hunter test. Everything else is just unimportant. Dawoon told him to get up. After a big meal, they need to stretch, so he invited him to spar. Jizak happily started thanking him. Suddenly, Nari chimed in and asked if she could join the fight too. Dawoon had told her to overcome her fear. She wanted to handle the fire. Jizak smiled, thinking she had forgotten. Dawoon is a beast, but Jizak isn't some weakling. The main character asked him to break a block of obsidian. He nervously shouted that it was obsidian. This material is many times stronger than even diamonds. This is completely insane. You'd need to be an A-class hunter to even dent ore like this. Now watch this, because Nari is about to show us exactly why you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Meet Jizak. He awakened his powers when he was only 8 years old. Considering most people awaken in their late teens, he was a total prodigy. He grew at lightning speed. Before he even turned 12, he was already a B-rank hunter. That rise brought him fame and glory. He dreamed of being the greatest, and it seemed he was on the right path. But there was one flaw. At an age when most kids are just starting out, he started going bald. His hair thinned in his early 20s. By 25, his hairline turned into an M shape. He tried every clinic possible, but it was all in vain. With his striking appearance and incredible talent, okay, I know what you're thinking. And yeah, it gets even crazier for our fallen prodigy here. The news anchor announced that Dr. Hondu from the Institute was joining them for an interview today. The doctor mentioned that a very interesting incident had occurred during his latest research. Liquid metal is rare even in the demon world, but someone accidentally spilled the substance on the doctor's head. Dr. Hondu took off his hat to reveal luxurious hair. He's 90, but his hair grew back just like that. The anchor asked if a cure for baldness was next. The doctor said no, since the demon world is mysterious. As an awakened being, he planned to keep serving humanity his own way. He would create more mechanical creatures from the remaining liquid metal to compete for a Korean award. Jizak screamed at the TV, telling him to make that damn cure for baldness already. Later, he saw news online about the masterpiece. One of those mechanical creatures had somehow ended up in the demon world. Jizak started wondering about the laws here. It's basically first come, first served, and he'll find that robot. He'll find it and pour it all over his head. By now, Nari had easily flattened him to the ground. Dawoon noted that the guy couldn't land a single clean hit. If this continued, he wouldn't get the job. Jizak shouted that he could do better. He begged and pleaded for a chance. Later, the main character finished a sturdy chest of drawers. Mahogany means he can use it for a long time. He looked at the hunter and thought the guy had guts. He'd been beaten all day, yet remained energetic. Maybe it's because he finally removed his wig. Jizak charged up his powerful fire magic for a rematch. Dawoon wondered how he could lose to a child. The main character replied that she was no ordinary kid. And trust me, you and I just watched Jizak charge forward, claiming that victory would definitely be his. Alright, stick with me, we are starting this one right in the middle of a high-stakes fire strike showdown. After the knockout, Nari joyfully cheers that her fear of fire is finally gone, and it is all thanks to him. Meanwhile, Juk wonders if he has reached the limit of his B-rank status. He is out of tricks. No. Wait, he refuses to just give up on his ranking. Now watch this, because where else would a loser like him get to spar like this? He won't quit. Rising back up, the hunter demands a rematch. Suddenly, his nose starts bleeding. Our hero asks how long he has been in this demon world. Jakwek says it is day 9. He should return. At his current level, staying here any longer is suicide. This demonic energy could kill him, yet he still believes he has the potential to hit A rank. He is ready to give it his all. Jizio admits he has failed the promotion test 6 years straight. They say if you fail for over 3 years, there is no point in trying. You are just done. But our lead disagrees. He sees room for growth since his mana is not even fully developed yet. He needs a total detox when he returns. Overjoyed, Jizio vows to give it his absolute best effort. He asks for guidance. Our hero decides right then to transform this guy into a top-tier A-rank worker. Later, Jizio heads to the portal and asks if they need anything. Turns out, they are fresh out of ramen. Nari waves goodbye, telling him to be careful. The hunter just tells her she needs to keep training hard. He is winning the next one. Oh, right, has anyone seen his wig? Our main character has no clue. The guy teleports away. Q asks if trusting him is smart. If he betrays them, they are in danger. Could he bring other hunters back? Our lead just shrugs. Q can read people's memories, so he should know. The chick confirms he is determined to get stronger, and yeah, that bald head of his is totally real. He is sincere, and that counts for a lot. Our protagonist thinks he is worth the long-term investment. Nari is shocked he understands bird language. He confirms it, even crediting the bird for his new chest of drawers. It turned out great, right? The house looks tidier now, but Nari wonders if it is too dark inside. He carves out some windows at her height. Nari carves her own and loves how the light looks. If she likes the light, they should make a lamp so she is not stuck in the dark tonight. She asks how they will manage that. He explains there are things called glowstones. You and I both know glowstones are rare, but Q is shocked that our lead actually knows where they are. Our lead knows the spot. This material is only found deep within the dangerous volcanic zones. The chick panics, warning that those volcanoes are death traps. Plus, that is actually where he came from. Does he not want to go home? Our hero wonders why the little guy looks so gloomy about it. Nari grabs him, asking what the chick is saying. He sounds strange, and she thinks he is upset. She gives him a hug, but Q grumbles that this child is way too perceptive for her age. Our hero thinks the chick is just worried about having to go to the volcano. He offers to go alone, but Nari insists on coming along too. She is over her fear of fire. Volcanic zone? No problem. Our lead smiles at her sudden bravery. He did not expect her to grow this fast. He looks to the chick, and Q decides to go. He has some unfinished business there. With a grin, our hero tells them both to follow him. But first, he needs gear. Meanwhile, in the Mandrake Valley, the plants are having a blast with Jizio's wig. At that moment, a massive monster lived in the volcanic zone. With that, the team sets off. Q explains that hunters avoid the volcanic zone like the plague. It is one of the 3 deadliest places. Ash cuts your skin while toxic gas and demonic energy make every single breath a total struggle. Humans know nothing about this place. He watches Nari happily splashing in lava and asks what she is doing. He just sighs. She is playing with fire. Q figures it is normal for a machine. But what about our lead? Who is he, anyway? He is a Chimera hunter. Q is surprised. Don't Chimera hunters usually look more like regular humans? He explains he was once a Chimera himself, but after being reborn, he regained his human looks. Is he really okay with them? Q is a monster, but the chick does not seem to mind. You and I just saw a monster find a family. It is nice having someone to talk to, right? Alright, you and I are diving back in as Nari asks if he's talking to that chick again. She's curious too, and he admits he's been wondering about Q's true identity. She excitedly claims he's a resident of the demon world, just like her. Q chimes in that he belongs there too. After trekking through the volcanic zone, the chick explains that those glowstones should be found right near the eruption sites. He says they need to reach the crater, which is finally close. They scale the boiling volcano, and from the top, he spots a glowstone on the walls, but there's a monster guarding it. A fire toad. And look, another one is actually crying. Nari points toward another one, while Q notices that the female of the pair has unfortunately died. The mother carries the eggs on her back. Now, she's gone. During breeding season, only females have that sunken back, but with her dead, every single egg is doomed. The crater's heat is way too high for these eggs to survive alone. Nari's eyes tear up seeing the toad mourn. He makes a sudden dash, telling her to wait right there. He leaps straight into the crater, coming face to face with the beast. Q warns that it's extremely sensitive now. Now watch this. The monster snaps and launches a massive pillar of fire at him. He moves with lightning speed and pokes the toad's forehead. He used the Neca Cobra paralyzing toxin, but just enough so the toad would wake up again fairly quickly. Fire toads are usually immune to toxins, Nari calls out, terrified that he might be hurt. He's fine because he has fire toad cells in his body. We can't save the mother, but the eggs will live. He ties the eggs securely to the living frog's body, so they'll stay safe until they finally hatch. Realizing what happened, the toad says a final goodbye and leaps incredibly high into the air. He spots Nari and keeps jumping. She shouts that the toad was looking right at her. Maybe he was saying thanks. Or maybe he was just mourning his mate. Time to get those glowstones and head back home. Nari is hyped to start digging. Together, they begin mining the glowing material from the rock. He warns her to watch her feet, those things are heavy. Q helps out before collapsing by the bag. He asks if the little guy is okay. The chick sighs, remembering when he could handle these easily. You and I both know Q isn't just some heartless monster, right? He brought gifts to see his friends, right? Q acts shy. What friends could a monster have? He claims he won't see them and will just leave the gifts. The protagonist asks if he misses his kind. Are smart monsters really that different? The chick insists he doesn't miss them. He just regrets leaving without a proper goodbye. Did he abandon them? Q admits being smart has downsides. He felt different. In the land of one-eyed monkeys, a two-eyed monkey is a freak. He left, and his pack probably didn't even notice he was gone. No loyalty there. Q pulls a stone, but it slips and falls. A crack echoes. Nari hears it and stops cold. A monster egg? What kind of creature is inside? Wait, it's cracked. Nari hopes it's just a small scratch from the glowstone hitting it. He thinks the baby pierced the shell. That means it's strong. Nari wonders what to do. They have to take it, or it'll just fry out here. Q wonders what might hatch. Could they use that old dresser as a nest? They're taking it, no choice. But Q is looking nervous. He's never seen an egg like this. Our hero reminds him who dropped the stone. The chick worries for Nari's safety, but he just smiles and says he'll protect her. Q calms down. Now, they need the rest of those stones. Trust me. You and I are going to want to see what hatches from that mysterious egg. Alright, you and I are jumping back into the action. Our main character hands over a heavy pack and notices the guy's surprising strength. Grabbing the bag, he struggles to even lift it and wonders what on earth could be that heavy. Dwan spots something off and tells him to look up. What happened to his face to make it look so beaten up? While Q's family feasts on his ramen, he laments his luck. He never saw himself as the type to take a beating. With an awkward smile, he scratches his head and admits that Nari is the one who beats him daily. Dwan wonders if that's something to be proud of. The guy runs off to serve food, leaving Dwan looking on with total doubt. After that, it was time to get down to business. Stone cutting. Nari asks what he's up to, and he explains his plan for a lamp. He's shaping light stones to hang from the ceiling. He thinks it will be cute, and she agrees with a delighted sigh, exclaiming that he's actually a total genius. He knows so much and explains it perfectly. Plus, he has a kind heart that reminds her of her own father. He smiles and asks how her dad is doing. He is still with the coconut tribe right now, right? She says he's doing fine. Meanwhile, Q is lying back, just relaxing and soaking in the beautiful sunset. He says the warmth is perfect, unlike a volcano zone. It feels like he's melting until a massive shadow looms over him. Now pay attention here, this is where the peaceful vibes stop. 3 mandrakes show up, looking ready to deliver a brutal punishment. Suddenly, the smallest one lunges, spinning like a shuriken. But it just bounces off his stomach like he is a human trampoline. Q jumps up in total confusion, but the mandrake doesn't stop. It immediately launches right back into the attack. Nari asks why they are fighting. Dwan figures they are just mad that their territory was finally invaded. Finally, Nam Jisok arrives with plates, announcing that these fried bean curd rice balls are perfectly sweet and sour. They're so tempting they'd lure in any kid. The taste is superb, and he's clearly very proud of his cooking. It was simple to make, but absolutely delicious. Q agrees it looks great, and Jisok tells everyone to dig in. But Dwan is still bothered. The guy never actually answered him about what happened to his face. You saw it coming, right? The story behind those bruises is a classic case of jerk-level bullying. He went to the association for his A-class promotion exam and ran into some high-ranked jerks who made his life hell. Dwan notices they're bullying him for failing the test 7 times. A fight broke out and now he's told to never come back. They kept pressuring him and teasing him about his bald head. Dwan asks, but he just shaved his hair, right? He is not totally bald. Jisok's look says it all, the real cause of his hair loss is a complete medical mystery. Feeling awkward, he just asks when the next exam is scheduled. It's in 60 days. Dwan stands up and declares it is finally time for some serious special training. Jisok jumps up, excited. He tells Dwan to just give the orders, and he'll do whatever it takes. Dwan says that first of all, from now on, he is washing all the dishes. Then he points to a bag of light stones. They're covered in volcanic dust. Jisok points out that Dwan said this was supposed to be special training. Dwan shuts him down. Either do it or stay a B-class hunter for the rest of your life. After that, he tells Nari they are going fishing, which makes her absolutely jump for joy. Jisok calls out in total confusion, but Dwan just completely ignores him. He sadly starts the dishes, hoping there's a secret reason for all this. He decides to trust the process. He throws his pack on and gathers his strength. Everyone thinks he was born a genius, but he knows better. Nam Jisok is a man who earned his B-class rank through blood, sweat, and tears, pure diligence and perseverance. He is determined to see this through. He's a man who gets up and tries for the 7th time. Lugging that huge burden, he follows Dwan, thinking the man is kind, cool, and incredibly powerful. The fishing finally begins. Just a peaceful day by the water. Nari starts falling asleep because nothing is biting. Then she notices all the fish are swimming toward Jisok instead. Terrifying fish start leaping out of the water to bite him. He panics and screams for Dwan's help. Water monsters are honestly the worst. Dwan realizes this guy needs a permanent babysitter. He drops his rod and asks what he's doing with his mana. And that's where we leave it. Alright, you and I are about to see if a clumsy trainee can actually master mana control. Jizio scratches his head, admitting his practice hasn't exactly made him a pro yet. So, our main character decides to step in. He hands over a stone and tells the guy to just hold it. Suddenly, dark energy surges out. Jizio drops it immediately, terrified that he just touched pure demonic power. His hand is useless. He can't summon any strength. Dune explains that some stones contain real energy from the demon realm. To survive this, he has to use raw mana to unlock his true potential. The mana is there. He just can't control it yet. Jizio tries to visualize the flow, staring at his palms. He knows he needs to carve a path inside himself and guide that mana where it belongs. He concentrates hard, gathering energy in his hands. The main character tells him to stay focused and try lifting the glowstone again. He touches it, but the weight of the stone is absolutely immense. Now pay attention, because this is where it clicks. Demonic energy blasts his face, but he pushes through, lifting the stone with a victory cry. He realizes the truth. Washing dishes and handling stones was all part of the plan. It was training for his mana control all along. The main character just smiles, telling him to keep it up. From now on, the dishes are his job. And Jizio doesn't even complain. Actually, he's thrilled to be useful. Jizio is the type of man who polishes every surface to a shine. He's the thriftiest guy around. Night falls. Dune sets up the lamps before bed. Jizio is out cold, snoring loudly. The main character is quiet, but Q is restless, struggling to find any sleep. Just as Q regrets not napping earlier, a sound breaks the silence. Nari gets up and slips outside. Where is she going this late? She heads to the river, upset about her dirty clothes. As she starts washing, a shadow looms. Dune steps out from behind a tree, asking why she's doing laundry at midnight. Q calls him an idiot. She's a girl with no spare clothes. What else is she supposed to do? You and I can see the main character finally realizing his mistake. He didn't care about fashion, but she's just a growing child. Was he being insensitive? She finishes up and walks out proudly. Dune acts casual, pretending he was just on a stroll. Nari jumps, nervously asking what he's doing out there in the dark. He claims he's just walking Q. Was she out for a stroll too? She nods quickly. He tells her to stand still, tightening her belt and tucking a fresh flower into it. He asks her opinion. He thinks she looks cute. Nari beams with joy. She loves it. It's beautiful, just like his. These are saya flowers, her favorite. Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes makes her grab his hand. He just smiles, telling her everything is perfectly fine. It was just a grasshopper. Well, actually a B-class steel locust. But he keeps that secret to himself. They head back home. He asks if she needs anything else, like new clothes or perhaps shoes. She says she has everything and loves what she has. Still, the next morning he heads to District 13. He steps through the portal, knowing she deserves better than just fine. Wearing the same oversized clothes every day just isn't right. Q wouldn't stop nagging him about it anyway. Hunters stare at his bare feet, but he couldn't care less. He wants her to pick something herself. But with her injuries and that tracker, is it safe? It's pretty funny. Who would have thought he'd use a legendary stone gate just to go on a shopping trip back to the slums? He scans the area, hoping a clothing store is still open nearby. Time is ticking. Suddenly, someone tugs his sleeve. A stranger asks if he's looking for a place to buy some gear. For 10,000, he'll show the way. He can tell our main character isn't a local, but he knows a cheap spot. Our hero says he'll pay after changing. He doesn't have any small bills on him right now. The guy sighs. Seeing the bare feet, he figures this is a newbie who got robbed the second he arrived. He saunters ahead with his hands behind his head. He asks if the guy even has money for clothes. Just follow me. He usually wants cash up front, but this pathetic guy gets an exception. Dwoon thanks him, and the stranger introduces himself as Bongu. Trust me, you and I will see if the main character is right about these slums becoming safer. Bongu asks in total shock, wait, didn't you just awaken? He is surprised it is so obvious. Alright, you and I are about to see what happens when a newbie hunter gets robbed of everything by local thugs. He tells Dun not to be upset because everyone has to start somewhere. Dun just smiles, telling the kid he is pretty sharp for someone his age. Bongu gets offended immediately, shouting that he is no child. Apparently, he is just short because he has not been eating well. He is actually 17. Meanwhile, Dun notices a gang nearby, shaking down a poor guy for his cash. Bongu warns him that while the slums are everywhere, District 13 is a total no-go zone. It is way too dangerous. The gang from District 11 took over this whole area. Even the police have pretty much given up on it. That is why people avoid this path. Right now, they are standing right in the middle of District 12. Dun frowns, wondering if his old orphanage still exists in District 13. Across town, a bored woman sits in her shop. She sighs deeply, regretting the day she decided to open a boutique in the middle of the literal slums. People here cannot afford kids, yet almost everything she sells is children's clothing. It is a disaster for her business. Maybe it is time for a career change. Suddenly, The bell rings as Bongu walks in, shouting for Auntie Boss Park. She is furious instantly, screaming at him to stop calling her auntie. How many times does she have to say it? She is not even married. While they argue, Dun looks around, realizing this is his first time in a real clothing store. Bongu tells her that this new guy needs some clothes, and that he is actually a professional hunter. She irritably tells Dun to come closer, making him nervous. She grabs him, yelling at Bongu for bringing another broke hunter to her shop. Does the kid even realize how many unpaid bills she is dealing with? Bongu argues they do not know if he is broke yet, but she just scoffs. Does this guy look like he has any money? Bongu says he is cute, reminding her she asked for weak-looking hunters who reminded her of her own little brother. She yells that only happened once. If she keeps helping kids like this, she will end up homeless on the streets herself. Bongu shouts back that he did not even ask. She was the one who brought him food first. She says it does not matter and tells the kid to look at his reflection. She will give him some cash to go clean up. Now pay attention here, because everything is about to change. Dun looks at the clothes and says he is ready to buy. He hands her a check for 10 million won, casually asking how many outfits he can get with just this small amount. That piece of paper glows like a legendary treasure in their eyes. They instantly realize they have found the customer of a lifetime. She claps her hands, turning into the world's kindest salesperson. She tells him he will find a brand new version of himself here. Welcome to Happy Boom World. Bongu quickly brings out a tray of food and drinks, sitting Dun down comfortably. While Bongu gives him a massage, Park explains they carry the best styles for both adults and children alike. When she asks if he is shopping for himself, he says he needs clothes for a preschool-aged girl. Since he is already here, he figures he should pick up a few things for himself too. He definitely needs new shoes. Park's smile goes wide. That is so sweet. He definitely came to the right place, since children's fashion is her true specialty. They start with the spring and summer collection. She shows off a few outfits, insisting that lace is an absolute must-have. For active kids, sportswear is better for moving around, right? And if he sees anything pink, he should just take it immediately. She is a master at her job, and Dun ends up buying every single thing she puts in front of him. You and I both know that feeling of a successful shopping spree. She cries tears of joy as the endless receipt prints out. She cannot believe her luck. There is over 100 items here, so she asks if he wants everything delivered instead. Dun just tells her he will carry it all himself. He hands several bags of clothes and cash to Bongu, saying they are for him. He also has one big favor to ask. Dun packs everything up and follows Bongu to a clean, decent hotel. Bongu explains it is safe because there is a police station nearby, and the owner is a nice person. Dun tells him to wait outside and heads in. Suddenly, Bongu starts to suspect that something might be very wrong. It does not matter how rich he is. Why would he give a random teenager clothes and 100,000 won? He has heard stories about kids being lured with money and kidnapped. He starts wondering if he should just run away. But what if Dun is actually a good person like Boss Park? Dun exits the hotel, agreeing the place is clean and friendly. He hands Bongu the room keys, noting that it looked like the kid had been living on the streets lately. You and I just witnessed a total life changer. He paid for a whole year, meals included, so Bongu can finally eat well. Bongu stares at the keys, totally lost, and just as he's turning to head out, stick with me, you have to love Bongu's nerve, asking if he's about to be kidnapped after our main character literally just saved his life and brought him to safety. He's like, isn't this what you wanted? They just met, yet he's giving him tips, fresh clothes, and even a room. Why the sudden kindness? Our hero just smiles, telling him that he simply reminds him of his own lonely past. It's been a while since he lived through that kind of struggle. With a final goodbye, he promises they'll cross paths again very soon. Finally, it's time to go home. A naked Gizio whose clothes were totally stolen rushes up wrapped in a blanket, while Nari starts scolding our guy for disappearing. He mentions he went out to buy her gifts, and her anger flips to pure joy instantly. He shows off the massive haul, leaving Q completely shocked. Nari pulls out a sweater, absolutely thrilled. While Gizio hopes there's something in there for him too, he just tells him he already knows the answer. He tells Nari to go inside and try everything on to see what fits. She bolts for the door, just as the mysterious egg starts to vibrate and shake. Now pay attention, someone is about to hatch. Meanwhile, Dun finds peace just folding the new clothes. Nari runs out to show off her new fit, asking if she looks cute. He agrees and asks if that's her favorite dress. Hesitant but excited, she heads back in to try on even more. Next, she stumbles out in a half-worn jumpsuit, totally confused by the pants, before appearing right in front of him in his oversized white tee. As she heads back in for another round, it's clear she's having the time of her life. Q calls her adorable, and finally, she emerges one last time. Having picked out her absolute favorite outfit, she proudly displays a sweater with a bird pattern, claiming it looks exactly like their little Q. She's obsessed. Q awkwardly wonders if he really looks like a sweater bird. Dune praises her style and offers to help her fold everything. Q eyes the massive bag, still halfway full, wondering where they're even going to put all this stuff. The room is officially out of space. He admits he's already brainstorming a solution. He plans to build a whole house complete with a walk-in closet. Hugh mentions they'll need a ton of lumber, but he tells him not to worry about it. You and I both know that look, they've got a worker. He eyes the forest and offers Gizio special training. Boom! Something slams into the ground near the forest. It's Gizio, making his grand entrance. He's fired up, shouting that he's ready for special training whenever the master says. Our hero walks up and hands him a leather skin, claiming the training gear is already good to go. Gizio's confused. Is this leather skin really supposed to be the uniform? Little does he know, that thing is actually soaked in deadly poison. He thinks he's a goner the moment he touches the poison. He assumes this is some extreme method designed to push his limits and help him grow stronger every day. He truly respects him and follows in his footsteps. Truth is, Dunn was just too lazy to wash the skin. He tells him to gear up, and Gizio's excitement turns to pure confusion. Our hero thinks these clothes are perfect for training and decides on today's intense workout menu. Step 1. Put on the poison skin and start chopping down trees. Hugh joins in, nervously joking that he'd die in that gear. But before they can start, Nari screams for Dunn's help. She's pointing out the window, shouting that something bizarre is finally happening with the mysterious egg. The four of them gather around, watching in silence. The main character notices the movement is getting way more intense. It's hatching time. Gizio asks the question we're all thinking this isn't some world-ending disaster monster, right? Nari's convinced it'll be adorable, but the guys aren't so sure. How could she possibly know for certain? She doubles down, insisting she just knows. And then crack, the shell finally gives way. Gizio spots an eye and immediately hides behind Nari, but she's leaning in with anticipation. Tiny paws start pushing the shell apart from the inside. It crawls out, and Gizio starts panicking about the sharp claws, the scales, and that long, flickering tongue. But wait, it's not scary at all. It's actually a tiny, cute snake. That somehow has chicken legs? Gizio wonders what kind of hybrid this is, while Nari is already head over heels for the little creature. Suddenly, the snake lunges and lands square on Gizio's face. He freezes in total shock, trying to process what's happening, before finally letting out a massive, terrified scream. After the chaos, he finally dons the poison skin and heads out to start the hard labor. Trust me, you and I wouldn't want Q as a boss. He's just using a stick to urge him on. Alright, you and I are jumping back in as Gio struggles through hell, lugging logs while wondering if that monster is actually scolding him. Between the heavy lifting and the toxic air, he can barely even catch his breath. He wonders how Dune even managed to wear that stuff. Meanwhile, he finally finishes the laundry and stretches, realizing how weird it feels to do chores after all this time. Nari calls out to him, mentioning that the snake actually loves bread. Honestly, for a monster, this little thing is surprisingly cute and docile. Our main character smiles, figuring the snake probably understands that she is the one who saved its life. She asks for a name, and since it is a snake, he suggests Sasa. Right then, the little guy senses something, leaps from her hands, and bolts off with Nari chasing right behind. Q flies over to Dune, noting how well the kids are bonding. He can tell she really loves their newest family member. Is this some kind of rare species? He has never seen a monster quite like this one before. Q admits he has not seen one either, but since it is clearly from a volcanic zone, they will need to keep a very close eye on the mandrakes. See, most monsters from volcanic regions consider these plants a total delicacy. Since they are so valuable, they cannot let them get eaten. Plus, the more magic these plants pack, the tastier they are to predators. A snake like this will definitely try to snack on a mandrake. Basically, it is their natural-born enemy. Meanwhile, Sasa reaches the mandrake bed. Sensing a threat, the plants immediately crawl out of the dirt to face her. Everyone approaches the garden bed as Gizio asks what is going on. The main character sees that Q was right, but Nari offers to step in. He hopes they will not fight, but in the demon realm, someone has to be the boss. Sasa is still just a baby, so she is not really dangerous yet. He suggests they just watch. Meanwhile, Sasa paces back and forth, hunting for an opening while the mandrakes draw their weapons and watch her every move. Sasa's gaze suddenly turns menacing. She is already locked onto a target. The mandrake looks terrified before Sasa pounces, and Gizio realizes she is going straight for the smallest one. The eldest mandrake blocks the strike, protecting his little brother. Then they shift into a triangle, a special formation meant for defense, not attacking. Then the second one counters, whacking the snake with a stick. She blocks it with her tail and almost seems to smile, but she celebrated way too early. The third one is still in play. Now watch this part closely. The smallest mandrake pounces on Sasa with a high-powered punch. But the moment it hits, the snake just bursts into tears. Gizio starts worrying about Sasa, while Nari points out that the poor snake is clearly in total shock. For the first time in its life, it felt real pain. She rushes over to calm the baby down. Dune notes, the mandrakes took the win today, while Jizio and Q call it an epic showdown. Now that the show is over, the lead suggests everyone get back to work. Q immediately kicks Jizio, who grumbles about how he has absolutely no heart. Meanwhile, U-bomb cuts through the sea on massive wings. Back at the house, a pale-looking Jizio is still grinding away on that wardrobe. Nari is helping too, coating the logs with a special sealant. Dune, meanwhile, is busy organizing all the clothes on the shelves. A new day dawns. Jizio sheds his outer layer and collapses to his knees, screaming that he is finally free. 2 days with zero sleep? That is pure hell. Now he can finally rest. He looks at the creepy house, knowing he finished exactly what he was told. But is any of this normal? The main character walks up and admits he did way better than expected. He thinks, so everything is actually okay. You and I can almost smell it too. Nari takes a deep breath and realizes the dressing room smells like flowers. Jizio is surprised until he sniffs the air, smiling at the calming lavender scent. Nari asks why it smells so floral in here. Dune explains that Q specifically picked out fragrant wood, so now even the clothes will smell like flowers. The mandrakes and Sasa love the scent too. When Jizio asks about Sasa's name, Nari explains her uncle picked it, so he suggests they change it if they have better ideas. Jizio happily asks, what about naming her chicken snake? He just shakes his head at the lack of imagination. Nari suggests PP, which is a hard pass, and Q tells them they are all thinking way too small. Then the lead chimes in with his own idea. He proudly suggests Horseshoe Rocky Mountains, claiming it perfectly captures the snake's whole personality. Dune just thinks that this guy is completely hopeless too. He suggests they just stick with the old name, and nobody objects. Q asks what the plan is now that the house has been expanded. The main character says he has been thinking about that since his time in the human world. Back when he was alone, he did not need to worry about stuff like this. But now? Things are different. He suggests building a massive fence around the property so that if he ever leaves, nothing can get to them. Jizio looks at the house doubtfully, thinking nobody would ever come here anyway. But our hero knows you and I both know that you can never be too safe in this world. Alright, you and I are about to see what happens when S-rank monsters and hunters start clashing. Dune mentions a coastal stone tougher than black jade called sparkling quartz. If they build a fence with it and hide glowstones underneath, the whole base would look incredible. Dune pictures the beautiful camping vibe at night and tells everyone they need to rush to the coast immediately. Jack is terrified. Does Dune even know how dangerous that place is? Jack hates the idea so much he decides to fake a sudden illness. He drops to his knees, clutching his forehead while claiming he needs to head back to recharge his magical energy. Dune tells him to watch the mandrakes if they stay out late, and Jack happily agrees to stay behind. But he warns them to be careful. The coast is a death trap where hunters below a rank never dare to go. More importantly, 2 disaster-level monsters rule that place. You and I are probably wondering the same thing Gizio just asked. Does he really not know who they are? Apparently, they are Chimera hunters who escaped from a secret research facility. They have the faces of birds but the bodies of humans. Meanwhile, Baum flies to the coast where a hunter squad is waiting, and their captain orders them to ready a tracking sensor. A hunter nails Baum with the sensor, causing a bright flash. Baum manages to escape, but the hunters realize they are dealing with disaster-level threats. He thought it was just a rumor. He asks the captain if they should start the pursuit. The captain tells them to wait for the Chimera to hide. After all, there are only 2 targets. They tagged one with a sensor, so there is no rush. It has been 60 years since the incident. Shouldn't they be dead or fully turned into monsters by now? Why do they still look so human? The captain explains it was a failed experiment, but Chimera hunters are still seen as humanity's greatest achievement. They cannot let these failures tarnish the reputation of their work. They plan to finish them today. Suddenly, a nervous hunter alerts the commander that Baum is not flying away. He is charging right at them. The captain immediately orders them to deploy a defensive barrier. But Baum flaps his wings with such force that wind currents shatter the shield and injure the entire squad. Stick with me here, because they completely underestimated him. He flies off to gain speed and then comes screaming back for another deadly blow. The captain panics and starts screaming at his subordinates. He demands they block the attack. Baum is about to strike, but Nari suddenly pounces on him to stop the fight. He realizes she is also a Chimera. Both of them quickly retreat back to the ground. Nari tells Dune that Uncle Sparrow is bullying humans, but Dune thinks it is actually the other way around. One hunter shows the commander a tablet, claiming there is a mechanical creature or some signature nearby. The captain asks for details, noting the reward for this request is actually quite high. Dune pats Nari on the head, realizing she has a tracking device on her, which is going to be a problem. Then he looks at Baum. He asks the Birdman if he remembers him. They were neighbors once. Dune mentions his old experiment number, and Baum is shocked to see he is still alive. It is a wild reunion. While they talk, the hunter squad decides it is time to bail. The group looks way too suspicious. so the captain orders a full retreat to regroup and return later. Dune tells Baum that letting them go will end badly for everyone. He suggests taking them out right now. Baum remembers him now. They were neighbors. He was number 33, and Dune was 17. He recognizes that unmistakable scent of research center chemicals. It is a smell he could never forget, even after all these years. He calls Dune by his number, noting they haven't met since 66 years ago near the TDA lab. Back then, Baum was escaping through the forest with his sister while being hunted. He looks at her and realizes the side effects are kicking in. He keeps running even as the grass cuts his skin. He wonders if he made the right choice. Would it have been better to leave her behind instead of dying together? If only she could fully transform. With those tiny wings, she was completely helpless in his arms. She tells him his wings are warm and urges him to keep running. Tears fill his eyes as he tells her to hold on. He hopes for help once they clear the forest, but a blinding light hits them. Dune shines his light on them. Now, you and I are left wondering, is he actually a friend? You and I are about to watch a desperate escape from a twisted science experiment. The lab workers plan to eliminate him because his side effects are too strong. When he hears the warning, Bum calls him a total psycho for actually risking his life to help. He always shows up when things are at their worst. Dunn realizes that even if they escape, a detonation spell will kill them in just 3 days. At least it seems like his sister is safe from being killed. Maybe staying in the lab for medicine to suppress the side effects is better? It could buy him at least 1 extra day. He scowls, reminding the main character that he has no idea what it is like to live with these agonizing side effects. Flashback to the lab, where a crushing headache hits him. His sister pulls him into a hug and begs him to escape. All she wants is to experience a normal life, even if it only lasts for 1 day. He sets his sister down by a tree and questions if lifespan really matters more than quality. He just wants to live freely, even if he only gets 24 hours to enjoy it. Now pay attention here, he tells Dunn to stop talking and attack, unfolding his wings as Dunn remains silent. Seconds later, a portal tears open behind him. Shocked, he demands to know where the gate stone came from. He explains that crossing into the demon world leads to one of 2 results for their modified bodies. Either the energy poisons their human cells, or their implanted demonic cells absorb the power and finally activate. If he is serious, isn't this the perfect chance? Even if he loses control and turns into a monster, he will finally be free. The detonator cannot activate in the demon world. Still, he wonders if there is actually any way for humans to survive there. Theoretically, he needs to build up enough mana to shield his human mind and body from the corrupting energy. In his weakened state, it is a long shot. But who knows? This crazy plan might actually work for them. The lab workers spot the portal and close in. Hearing their voices, Baum decides it is time to go. They were neighbors for 4 years, without ever learning each other's names. Baum finally introduces himself, and the main character gives his own name back with a rare, genuine smile. Now back in the present, he sprays dust on the hunters and asks the captain for his name. The captain is dazed and admits he does not know. When asked why he even came here, the hunter repeats that he has no clue about anything. He opens a new portal and orders them to step through and forget every single detail of what happened here. Baum asks if he used a mix of forgetting powder and hypnosis. He confirms it. You and I both know the lab was cruel, and they even transplanted forgetting grass cells directly into his body. They experimented with all sorts of things on him. Dunn explains that a lot has changed since they escaped. He asks if he is. Number 33. Baum nods, amazed that anyone actually remembered who he used to be. Nari tugs Dunn's sleeve, curious if they are friends. He confirms it, mentioning that Baum is from the Sparrow tribe. Baum is completely lost but stays quiet. The main character asks Nari if the Sparrow and Coconut tribes are actually allies. She excitedly confirms it. Meanwhile, Baum is thinking to himself that he does not understand a single word they are saying. Nari gives him a deep bow to apologize properly. She felt bad for judging him, but then her stomach growls loudly. She tells Dunn she is hungry, so he asks Ba where he lives and if there is food. He is utterly baffled. He cannot tell if this kid is his daughter, or if they are both just deep into some role-playing game. Baum takes them to his home inside a massive cage. Nari points out that it looks exactly like a bird's nest. Dunn notes that he has settled in perfectly. Baum brings out a tray of food, hoping they will actually enjoy the strange meal he prepared. It is grilled clams, seasoned with Demon World butternut, which tastes just like real butter, and some red moss. Nari is shocked by the massive clam, while the main character thinks it looks delicious. Dunn decides to take the first bite. As soon as the clam hits his tongue, he is stunned. He exclaims that it is incredibly fresh, like he just swallowed the entire ocean or the ocean swallowed him. Nari says the flavor unfolds with every single bite. Dunn adds that the red moss makes it perfect, and Baum proudly calls it essential. He is happy they like it and tells them to eat slowly. Suddenly, a sharp pain spikes in his head. Only the main character notices. Baum quickly hides the pain, acting like nothing is wrong. Nari immediately asks for even more clams. He laughs awkwardly, explaining he is out of ingredients. She asks if he will cook more if she goes and catches them herself. He agrees but warns her that it is way too dangerous for a small child to be hunting shellfish. She ignores the warning and bolts toward the sea, shouting that she is going to catch 10 of them. And that's the final moment. You and I just saw a reunion that is about to get very complicated. Alright, you and I are diving back into the life of a man who cheated death using immortal cells. When asked about getting even with the lab, he admitted the thought crosses his mind, but life right now isn't bad. So, deep down, is the fire of vengeance still burning in his soul? He explained that although his spells vanished upon his resurrection, a deadly detonation spell is still ticking away inside their bodies. The moment they step into the human world, they'll literally be torn to pieces. Dune noticed that while he could control his wings, his head remained bird-like. He could shift back, but he simply won't. Jazz's expression shifted, worried that looking normal might upset her. The main character understood, then asked a very serious question. Now pay attention, because here is the bombshell he dropped. He only has 1 month left to live. Memories flooded back of his brutal arrival. Back then, he had to desperately scrape together every bit of mana just to survive. Suddenly, he felt his pure mana and dark demonic energy finally reaching a perfect balance. For the first time, he felt true peace. But then tragedy struck. Gia's mana vessel suddenly cracked, and her energy began boiling. In a desperate attempt to force it open, he ended up shattering his own vessel. He's barely holding on, while Gia has been consuming poisonous sleeping fruits to stay in a deep, forced slumber for weeks. Dwan saw him trembling, and realized Gia was choosing this coma specifically to slow down the seething demonic energy within her. Staring at the sea, he remembered that a damaged mana vessel could actually be restored using a special mandrake decoction. The bird-headed man was clueless about this cure. Meanwhile, Gia woke up, but the fruits failed her, and her body began warping. Clutching her shoulders, an absolutely inhuman scream suddenly erupted from the depths of her soul. When the main character mentioned the mandrake, her brother leaped up in pure excitement, asking if they actually had a chance to survive. But how? He explained that he'd been deep into studying pharmacology in the lab since he was only 15. Most don't know this, but they need purified water from a mana source infused with mandrake root, a rare plant monster. The mandrake. It lets out a piercing scream when uprooted from the ground. While the roots look useless, they actually absorb underground demonic energy to reproduce, making them a potent source of pure life force. That's exactly why water infused with these specific roots is able to trigger the rapid regeneration of a mana vessel. I know what you're thinking, all that time in a lab was a waste, but it's about to save lives. He promised his friend he would prepare the water himself, leaving the other man absolutely stunned by the news. He asked if he could really do it alone. He explained that while he needs an alchemist for purification, a curse blocks him. So, while he's away searching for a solution, he needs him to look after the children. Ba agreed, feeling deeply indebted yet again. Dunn then pointed out that an alchemist won't work for free. Does he have payment? He admitted he had zero cash, but he did have supplies. He produced a massive backpack, prompting Dunn to wonder about the source. With an awkward smile, he explained that he'd simply gathered all the gear left behind by the hunters who had visited. Is this enough? He assured him it was plenty. Let's see where this journey takes us. Arriving in the slums, he quickly tracked down Bong-su to help him locate an awakened alchemist. Leading the way with his hands behind his head, he mentioned that an alchemy association branch finally opened here in the slums. The main character spotted the heavy bracelets on his arms and asked what the deal was with those things. He explained he was building up his stamina because he wants to be just as strong as Dune, who just looked on. Dune was totally clueless, but then Bong-su noted he'd entered the demon realm with absolutely zero gear. He's convinced he's a legendary hunter. Now, he's eating tons and training like a beast to reach that same level of power. He smiled, noticing the boy seemed much taller since their last meeting. It must be a massive growth spurt. Reaching the association, Bong-su spoke about the new manager, Kim. Word is that he's a highly capable professional and a good guy. Hearing voices approach, he turned around and confirmed that this was indeed him. Kim stood there on the verge of tears while on a phone call. Bong-su sighed, guessing that relentless loan sharks were calling. Loans are a way of life here. Kim spent 20 years at the prestigious Golden City branch before being demoted to the slums. Word is, they even cut his salary recently. The main character assumed a demotion meant he'd screwed up, but Bong-su disagreed. Rumor says a high-level executive was secretly embezzling funds. CEO An is infamous for his dirty misdeeds. Alright, you and I are about to see how manager Kim got exiled here for being a whistleblower. After their talk, a frustrated Kim heads back to the association, only for Bongu to cheer him up with a joyful shout. Kim notices the kid has grown taller, and it turns out Bongu brought a friend who needs an alchemist, leading him inside. Dune takes a long, hard look at the man. He senses a powerful aura and realizes high-ranking alchemists are rare here, so meeting one like Kim is a huge shock. Bongu heads off to train while Kim brings Dune inside, leaving Assistant Park sitting there looking bored out of his mind. He lets out a heavy sigh, wondering why he is stuck in this dump with these superiors. At best, low-tier hunters come in for cheap potions, so he knows a promotion is never happening in this lifetime. Hearing the door, he jumps up and excitedly asks the manager if he is finally back with some good news. Kim tells him to pour drinks, but Dune cuts straight to the point since he has no time to waste. He looks like an A+ rank alchemist who can make purified water from mandrakes, can he not? He needs 2 liters. Kim adjusts his glasses, shocked that someone would even look for mandrakes here in the slums. It is totally absurd. How did this guy know his rank? He explains he can do it, but rare materials are not here. Now pay attention, because Dune pulls something from his pocket that makes the manager eyes nearly pop out of his head. He holds up roots vibrating with an incredibly powerful and intense demonic energy. These are definitely mandrake roots, and they are so fresh they look recently picked. He has never seen them in such condition. Dune drops his backpack and says he will pay for the work using rare items found along the coast. He tosses pearls and red moss onto the table, asking for an appraisal. Kim cannot believe his eyes and shouts in disbelief. Are these actually from the coast? Even at headquarters, you will not find 3 black S-rank pearls like this at once. There are even giant clams straight from the demon dimension. Assistant Park checks a clam, and when it spits in his face, he screams that the things are actually alive. Kim grabs the red moss, calling it essential for high-grade potions, while Park asks if this is that ultra-rare plant discovered recently. Dune asks if this is finally enough to cover the production costs. Kim tells him it is more than enough. He could buy this entire building and still have plenty left over. Park suggests bringing the high-end appraisal device from the lab, and Kim agrees that such legendary items deserve the best equipment. As the assistant runs off, Dune spots a mandrake in a capsule and asks why Kim lied about not having any. It was sitting right there. Kim explains that this mandrake died 10 years ago and lost its power. He only kept it because he is obsessed with studying them. But you and I see things differently. Dune claims this mandrake is actually alive. Kim is confused, so Dune releases his mana and asks if he sees how the plant reacts when it is fed. The mandrake just exhausted its energy and fell into a coma. All it really needs is a fresh supply of mana. Kim is stunned, shouting that it is impossible since he tried feeding it mana personally many times before. Suddenly, the door bursts open as Director Ann arrives with his assistants to see what the fuss is about. He insults the office, calling it a slum den, but he was told that some legendary items had surfaced in this dump. Kim realizes Park snitched and wonders how the director arrived so fast. Ann just brags about having much better subordinates than Kim. His twins have special abilities that let them work twice as fast. He notices Dune and asks if he is the one who brought the loot. He introduces himself as an executive director and invites Dune to move to the Golden City with him immediately. He promises to take care of him, but Dune just frowns, annoyed that his new friendship with Kim is being interrupted. The director claims that in this backwater hole, nobody can truly appreciate a talent like Dune. If he signs an exclusive contract, he will get a massive bonus and tax breaks right away. Our main character is not even listening. He just stares at a spot on the man's face and asks about his wart. He confirms it, then asks about his connection to Anbaktuk. The man laughs, asking if Dune knows his famous grandfather. The old man won the world gold medal, and this director is his very own grandson, bragging about his lineage. Dune grins at his rotten genes. Trust me, you and I cannot miss what happens next. Alright, you and I are diving into a dark past where Baktio used his whip to mock the main character, calling him a monster who was pathetic enough to still want a mother. But he is a chimera. His actual kin are all locked away in the demon realm. He laughed, telling him to beg his mommy for help as he threatened to throw him straight through the gate. In that moment, our main character vividly remembered the disgusting wart right on that man's nose. Now, he releases a crushing mana that brings the grandson to his knees, asking if he is really following in his grandfather's wicked footsteps. A man who destroys lives with power and steals everything he wants whenever greed takes over. The man claims he does not understand, but he is warned to answer carefully if he wants to live. Does the TDA lab still exist? He swears he has never heard of it, so he is asked if he knows about the illegal Chimera lab where Bakdok worked as a senior researcher. Kim is shocked. He never imagined that a gold prize winner would be caught up in such shady dealings. Jijang snaps back, saying you should not speak ill of the dead. His grandfather spent his whole life on research and teaching the next generation at the university. After retiring, he supposedly donated his entire fortune to victims' families and was even awarded the Gold Peace Prize for his charity. Dune just chuckles at the irony. After murdering so many kids in secret, the old man decided to publicly repent. Now pay attention, everyone thought he would live a long life as an awakener, but he died early after falling out a window. Gang is stunned and asks how he knows that. That specific detail was never made public. He reveals the truth. He is the one who pushed him because he turned kidnapped children into chimeras. The old man threatened to throw kids into the gate, so he pushed him first. He will give the grandson one chance. Let him learn the truth about his grandfather and the TDA lab. He can come find him when the time is right. As he leaves, the main character is lost in thought. Who knew he would run into Anbokyo's grandson here? He was only 9 years old when they first started the biological experiments to turn him into a chimera. His body truly started turning into a monster in his 20s, but those memories are a little hazy. Lost in a world without civilization, he lived by nothing but orders and primal instincts, never truly aware of his own self. So much time has passed since then. The lab has probably changed its name half a dozen times by now. Manager Kim interrupts his thoughts, happily entering the room and thanking him for waiting. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Is the water ready? Yeah, and he is genuinely impressed by the alchemist's insane speed. No wonder he is an A+ alchemist. It only took him about 30 minutes. He says the ingredients were high quality, which is why it went so fast. Then, he grabs a calculator to settle the bill for the rest. Our guy thinks he is pretty capable. It was a smart move to approach him. He asks if he would like to sign a contract. He will provide all the ingredients needed for synthesis. He will get the materials, and Kim just has to do the work. Kim stares at him in absolute disbelief. He is offering a full contract too. Dune points out that this deal could buy an entire building. Isn't that a great deal? Kim starts crying with joy, explaining that he is actually from the slums himself. When he was younger, his parents took out a massive private loan. He promised to pay it off, but no matter how hard he struggled, he was always stuck in the same place. How can he ever repay such kindness? He just smiles, knowing this man will be very useful in the future. He tells him they will just work together to calm him down. Now, he is heading back, hoping the others are safe. Things are looking bad for Gia. She is attacking her own brother, and he realizes he made a mistake. He should have known Gia would lose her temper like this. He begs her to pull herself together, but she only responds with a low growl before hurling him into the rocks. He is afraid he is too late. Nari and Q rush to his side. He mentally tells Dune not to worry about them. He will keep his promise to him. After all, Dune has already saved them once before. He spreads his wings and flies toward his sister, crying as he tells her to be happy in the next life. Just as they clash, a massive jellyfish falls from the sky and crushes Gia. Ba is completely shocked. The main character, who threw the damn thing, just asks if it was only supposed to knock her out. Nari is thrilled to see him, but trust me, you and I can see Ba is not happy about his sister's treatment. Stick with me, we're about to see things get complicated. He wonders if there is a better way to control her, while Bong wipes his tears and asks about the medicine. He pulls out 2 vials, telling him that he kept his promise and actually got the goods. By evening, the guys are frying fish around the fire, while those mystery vials are already empty. Gia and Nari are fast asleep on the carpet, but when Gia finally wakes up, she sees a drooling kid staring right back at her. She grabs her head in confusion, wondering if this is a dream, but there is her brother sitting by the fire with some stranger. When the mystery guy looks her way, she panics, immediately covering herself and shouting to find out who he actually is. That scream wakes Nari up, who just sleepily asks if Aunt Sparrow has finally opened her eyes yet. Caught off guard by the name, Gia listens as Bomb tells her to check her mana vessel. She is shocked, but she closes her eyes to feel her internal energy. Her vessel feels normal again, and even her face has returned to its original look. She is totally lost and asks who these people are, while Bomb mentions how much she had wanted to meet this guy. Has it really been that long? Her eyes go wide as she looks at the stranger and remembers that boy from the forest. Watch this, she realizes it is number 17. Bomb confirms it, and she is just stunned that he has actually gone and saved them again. Dune asks her brother if there is any red moss left, but he tells him that was all for today. Gia realizes he really is, number 17, totally cold and heartless. She takes off her mask and gives him a big, thankful smile. Suddenly, Nari spots something glowing. Little lights are floating on the water, and she excitedly points them out to the whole group. Feeling a bit shy, Gia puts her mask back on and explains that those are actually sea fairies. They are coastal monsters from the deep sea, nicknamed fairies because of how they look when they are just playing around. They only surface to play at night, because as soon as the sun comes up, they head back home. Legend says following them leads to yellow, sparkling quartz, and that is when our main character realizes he totally forgot his original mission. He asks how long until dawn, and hearing that it is still the middle of the night, he decides to take a swim, since it has been a really long time. Later, Director Han calls a meeting, demanding to know what is going on with that mechanical creature and where it is hiding. He is told that about 10 B-class hunters came across the creature in the forest, but none of them could catch it. Now, it seems to be hiding somewhere on the coast. Every A-class hunter who returned from there is now suffering from memory loss, but here is the thing: the tracker data still exists. Suddenly, the director gets a call from Ani Jang. He answers, saying it has been a while, but Ani is furious, claiming he only called to ask one specific question. Does he know anything about the secret TDA research lab? The director claims he has never heard of it. even when Ani says it was an illegal lab from years ago. The director cuts him off, insisting that it should not even be called a research lab. Professor Bakdok taught him to be an honest researcher, and Han Yongdu says he will never forget the lessons of his dear teacher. He ends the call, wondering why his grandson would suddenly mention an illegal lab. Suddenly, a researcher bursts into the room with great news, shouting that the experiment was finally a success. Just like he predicted, mixing liquid metal and mandre created a liquid metal mandre. He shows off the results, knowing that mandres are monsters with a crazy strong sense of bloodline. Their sensory abilities are just incredible. By adding liquid metal, which is incredibly sticky, they created a chimera. Combining these properties lets them detect the mechanical creature faster than any tracking device on the market. He waves his hand excitedly, ordering them to triple the reward and alert all the elite A-class hunters. He will find this masterpiece no matter what it takes. Meanwhile, Bomb stands on the coast thinking about Dune. The guy is such a weirdo, but he did invite them over. He has an excellent cook, despite being bald. Bomb asks if he also lived in the demon realm. He confirms it, saying it is actually nice here once you get used to it. Bomb asks why he would not just go to the human world. Our main character asks if he really wants to go back. He swallows hard, admitting he does not have many good memories from his old life, though sometimes he cannot help but think about how much everything has changed. Dune suggests that the spell on his body could actually be removed. He immediately asks how, and Dune mentions an alchemist named Kim. Since he prepared the purified water, he should be more than capable of helping. You and I will have to wait and see if he chooses to research those spells after all. Trying is everything. Alright, you and I are jumping into a moment where he just breaks down, asking why the main character always helps them. After all, they have done nothing in return. Dun replies that looking at the twins makes him wonder if survival is really everything. He figures that by sticking his neck out, he might finally find an answer. Bomb snaps back to reality, spotting air bubbles on the water and moving with insane speed. His sister bursts through the surface holding 2 ropes. She tosses one over, leaving him totally confused about what is happening. She does not explain a thing and just tells him to pull. He starts hauling the rope toward the shore, wondering why it feels so heavy. The lines tighten, dragging a massive net full of quartz out of the depths. Bomb is stunned by the sheer amount of stones they found. Then, Dun and Nari finally resurface from the water. He smiles at the girl, saying he hasn't had a swim like that in ages. It was fun, and she totally agrees. That dive is burned into her mind. The sea fairy house looked like a golden palace. They can go back, right? The main character confirms it as they hit the shore, and Baum wonders how they will carry this through the forest. Dun is thinking the same thing, when a massive shadow of a parrot eagle suddenly sweeps across the ground. Nari is thrilled, but Gia warns that he only looks cool from a distance. Up close, you would change your mind. He stands 4 meters tall with a nasty attitude. Usually, they try to avoid this feathered idiot at all costs. Seeing Dun smile, Baum realizes what is happening. Dun just thinks they finally found themselves a truck. It is perfect. Time passes as Gizio meditates, watched by the mandrakes. He can actually feel his mana vessel growing larger and stronger. At this rate, becoming an A-rank hunter is actually possible. Stick with me, because something is about to crash his peace. An iron mandrake falls nearby, looking furious that he tripped. Gizio has never seen one before and is completely shocked. Suddenly, a hunter kicks the mandrake, telling it to fix its face before he does it for him. One of the thugs looks at Gizio and asks if that is really him. His buddy points at the bald head, confirming it is definitely Gizio. But why is he dressed like some kind of jungle savage? They start laughing, and he tries to hide his head. He realizes these are the A-rank jerks from his hunter exam days. What are they even doing here? 3 fierce mandrakes immediately jump in to protect him. One hunter shouts in surprise, wondering if these are wild mandrakes and how much they would sell for. The guy walks up with a fake smile, asking if they are mad about him stepping into their territory. He reaches out like they are pets, calling them good boys. Gizio grits his teeth, knowing these are Dun's mandrakes. He knows he has to protect them, but the oldest mandrake is more than capable of handling himself. He stomps his foot with a terrifying roar, and the villains are sent flying backward by the impact. Now, you and I might think that was an earthquake, but it was just Gia and Bomb landing nearby. She asks if those guys are still there. Meanwhile, our main character is heading home on the back of that parrot. The bird is flying incredibly slow under the heavy load. Dun starts to worry if he was a bit too harsh. Back at camp, Gizio is clutching his head in total shock, wondering how his life got this crazy. These are disaster-level monsters from the coast. He remembers Dun and Nari went there and starts panicking. If something happened to them, he might actually have to team up with these idiots to save his friends. The 2 monsters push the hunters aside and ask if he is Dun's chef. Bald, just like the boss said. Gizio screams in terror and backs away, wondering why on earth these monsters are speaking human words. He quickly recovers and asks if they know Dun. Bomb confirms it, saying they are all actually good friends. Jizio is floored. Disaster-level monsters are his friends? What kind of life is this guy living? Baum gestures toward the hunters and asks who they are, noting that they definitely do not look like guests. Jizio realizes this is his big chance. With a dark grin, he tells them these thieves are here to steal the mandrakes. The hunters are paralyzed with fear. They finally realize exactly what is coming for them. The parrot crashes into the clearing by the house. Nari jumps off, happy to be back home after the long trip. The poor parrot collapses from exhaustion, and the main character wonders if the flight was really that difficult. He pats its head, telling the bird to rest. Gia still cannot believe he actually tamed that thing. And that is where you and I leave our heroes safe at home, while those hunters learn a very painful lesson. Alright, stick with me because you and I are jumping right into a shocking hunter encounter. What on earth happened here? Dune asks, stunned to see 3 A-class hunters taken down like this. Baum explains it was an attempted mandrake heist, but the whole situation feels incredibly suspicious to him. Baum rubs his neck, clearly confused, and says there is something important he needs to share. He signals his sister, who takes Nari away toward the gorge waterfall. Once they are gone, Baum reveals the grim truth that Secret Laboratory is still hunting for Kim Nari everywhere. It looks like these hunters were actually following their orders. Now pay attention, because our main character realizes this is the same lab that used that tracking device before. Nari has a special sensor that works even in the demon world. They were just on the coast, so how did they track her all the way to this location? Baum holds up a mandrake, explaining this little guy is the culprit. The main character takes it, asking if it is a mandrake infused with liquid metal. That is the tracking secret. Baum heard that liquid metal is naturally drawn to its own kind. Dune realizes that is why this little guy was pulled straight to the other mandrakes living here. Baum mentions they were planning to head to the coast, but he knows the lab will not stop searching for Nari anytime soon. The main character needs a plan, but suddenly, the mandrakes start calling out to him. They start pointing at themselves and waving their little hands, wanting him to hand over their new kinsman. He hands over the metal mandrake, but the eldest brother points at his pocket with a menacing look. He totally forgot he had something else. How did he know what was hidden? He pulls out the exhausted mandrake, and Baum asks who this little weakling is supposed to be. He explains it belonged to an alchemist who finally agreed to let him look after it. The alchemist cried when letting go, but it was for the best. Meanwhile, the mandrakes are already busy digging holes for their new family members. They slowly trudge toward their new spots, plant themselves in the soil, and sigh with pure bliss. Baum admires their amazing camaraderie, while Dune is just glad they are not territorial about their new home. They will settle in fast. But wait, where is Jizio? He really should have been back by now. Suddenly, a crying voice rings out from the sky as Gia flies in carrying Nari and Jizio. He is waving his arms with tears in his eyes, relieved to have finally arrived. He pounces on him with a hug, saying he was just so worried. He gets pushed away immediately as he is asked what happened. Gia sighs, explaining he was struggling in the water until the fish started biting him everywhere. It was a pretty terrible sight. He laughs awkwardly, saying he just wanted to catch some fish for the guests, but things went south. Nari happily says that Auntie Sparrow is totally cool. She really saved him. Jizio tells everyone to wait while he goes and prepares a special meal. Then, a heavy sigh rings out nearby. He glances at the parrot, shocked he did not notice such a massive thing standing right there. Terrified, he screams about where the parrot came from. The main character promises to explain it all later. But first, food. Jizio excitedly heads off to start cooking. While Nari approaches the new tenants, she gets intrigued by the metal mandrake. She touches its leaves, making her purse her lips nervously when they react. You and I can almost smell it. The food is ready. It is the legendary Namjishak signature kimchi curry. He smugly knows it is just store-bought curry and kimchi, but he has a secret technique. He added tons of pork and vegetables, stirring for a whole hour to make sure nothing burned. They sit down, and Baum says it smells incredible, while Jizio nervously waits for their reaction. As soon as Gia tries a piece, she excitedly calls it the legendary meeting of the East and the West. Baum says it is spicy but delicious, but Dune just smiles, wondering if he realizes India and Korea are both in the East. He notices Nari sitting there with a sad face and asks her what is wrong. She says she has no appetite, and leaves the table to go to bed. He thinks it is all because of that metal chimera, and honestly, it is probably weighing on her. Maybe he should give her a task, so she does not dwell on it too much. Time passes. While they finish dinner, someone out there stole the mandrake. Baum pats his stomach, saying being a professional chef is a cool gig. He has not eaten this much in a long time. His sister jokes that she no longer feels like a bird, but more like a pig. The main character suggests taking a walk to fix the fence, and Gia says he can definitely entrust all the stone cutting to them instead. So what do you and I make of this? Nari is standing right there at the open gates. Alright, you and I are jumping right back in. Nari thought leaving was the only way to keep her uncle safe from the danger following her. Duan ran into the house calling for her, and she hugged her Mandre tight, tearfully saying goodbye to the only family she had left. She made a break for the portal, but our main character blocked her path. He reminded her that this house was her home, too. Gia and Baum finally caught up and let out a huge sigh of relief. Meanwhile, a sobbing Nari couldn't hold back anymore. She collapsed into Duan's arms as he realized just how fast these kids grow up. He knew he'd have to keep a much closer eye on her. They sat her down at the table, where the poor girl started eating ramen with eyes still puffy from all that crying. One bite was all it took. She started devouring those noodles, telling Gio that they tasted even better than the last batch he made. He joked that ramen is the ultimate late-night lifesaver, but Gia was still furious that the kid almost ran away from home. She warned Nari that if she tried it again, her big sister would show no mercy. Nari apologized, admitting everything was her fault. After finishing every last drop of the broth, she stuck out her tongue and shouted about how incredibly spicy it was. Gio set a carton of milk down, telling her to drink up. Apparently, his mom always said milk is the best cure for the heat. Baum was shocked because they only got milk like this in the lab, but Gio told them he had plenty more to share. Gio cleared the table, promising to finish his chores and get right to work like the boss ordered. Baum asked if they should start processing the quartz. After chugging several bottles of milk, Nari finally turned to Duan and apologized for causing everyone so much worry and stress. He told her she had nothing to be sorry for. Deep down, he knew the real villains were the ones who created and used her. He then asked her to describe her friends from the coconut tribe. She seemed a little confused by the question, but he was already planning ahead. When he finally crushed that TDA lab, he had to ensure her friends stayed safe. She mentioned there were 3 of them, all very close, so he decided not to push her for the lab's secret location. Namgyo already had the intel. Now, Duan just wondered if his employee had managed to finish his specific assignment. Now pay attention, because Gio is about to have some fun with those hunters. He grabbed one by the face, noting they still couldn't use mana. He ripped the bandage off, and the guy immediately started begging him to wait. He tried to strike a deal, promising they would pay him back generously if he just let them walk away. They had enough hidden cash to buy a house in the Golden City, and they swore they would never speak a word of this. Gio just laughed, saying that for a deal to work, both sides needed to be on equal footing. He flashed a black card with a grin, proving he wasn't interested in their pathetic pocket change. The hunter gasped in shock, recognizing it as a legendary high society elite card. He asked where it came from, but Gio brushed it off. It was time to get some payback for that promotion exam disaster. The hunter claimed it was all just a mistake, but Gio asked if he really looked that gullible. He called himself a stubborn idiot who never knows when to quit. And as for these guys, he knew exactly what they were. Everyone knows they are absolute scum in this world. Between failing an exam or beating up the weak and stealing their money, which one is actually worse? He pulled something out of his pocket and revealed they were special forgetfulness pills. The boss gave them to him directly, and even he wasn't sure just how powerful the memory wipe would be. The guy was absolutely terrified, knowing it was enough to delete his entire life. Gio told him it was time to reset his rotten personality from scratch. You saw that too, right? This is brutal. Gio ordered him to open wide while the hunter screamed in pure terror. The next day, Q was babysitting Nari and Sasa, complaining about how hard it was, while Duan discussed his next move with Baum. Baum was stunned by the plan, but Duan confirmed he was serious and was taking Gio and Q along for the ride. While they were away, Baum would stay behind to guard the house and look after Nari. Just then, Gio showed up in some stylish shoes, looking completely ready for action. Duan grinned, noticing that his employee was practically glowing with excitement for this mission. He was thrilled because the boss promised to introduce him to a real alchemist who might finally solve his persistent problem. Baum realized he meant the bald alchemist, but his sister wondered if they should really head out looking like that without any cover. Duan agreed, a disguise was a smart move, but Gio was just confused about why they needed one. Gia took off her mask and handed it to Duan, telling him he should at least try to cover his face. When Gio finally saw her face, he froze in place. His heart started racing, and he clutched his chest in total shock. As she smiled, he wondered if he was actually experiencing love at first sight for the very first time in his life. Actually, Gia wasn't smiling at all. For some reason, she was busy throwing punches at her own brother. Gio dropped to one knee, declaring himself a man of action. And trust me, you and I are about to see him go all out. Alright, you and I are diving into a moment where our main character basically commits social suicide by asking about his crush's ideal type. As he shivers with nerves, his buddies Dunn and Boss settle in for the show. Even Baum admits she is curious too. If you ask her straight up, she will give you a totally honest answer without a second thought. Gia thinks for a second and says her ideal is someone impressive who can really dance. A noble peacock flashes through Gio's mind as she explains that the fluffier the feathers, the better. That specific detail hits our guy right in his bald spot. He immediately shouts for the boss, insisting they need to find an alchemist right this second. The boss agrees but asks to make a quick stop first. Honestly, our hero is down for anything as long as they reach that alchemist eventually. Suddenly, A massive portal tears open above the city, terrifying every single person on the ground. A bird just as big flies out, sending people scrambling to the guild. Jiok is just confused why he needs a monster parrot. People are freaking out, but the main character just wonders why they should bother going on foot.